Welcome back to another episode of Uncommon Wealth, the show where we dive into the mindsets, moves, and mechanics behind building generational wealth. Today, we're joined by Trish Dork, founder and CEO of Elite Realty, a brokerage and educational firm. With over 2 decades in the real estate industry, Trish has built not only a high-performing team, but also the Stars Realtor Training Academy, empowering hundreds of agents to flourish in their careers. So Trish, let's start from the beginning. Can you share a little bit of your backstory, how'd the business come to life, and what those early years look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. It's funny to say that I've been doing something for 22 years because I don't feel like I'm old enough to do something for 22 years. But when I started in real estate, it was back when we had carbon copy purchase agreements and maps, and it was a very different world. But I was 20 years old. And so I was very, very excited to be able to do something so impactful into grown-ups' lives. So I just caught the real estate bug, and I was actually at U of M going to be a doctor in college. And I got a summer job at a real estate office, and I said, I'm not going back to college. And my parents cried a little bit. But I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do it forever. I absolutely love it. And I was all in, and I realized rather quickly that back then there was no like coaching or training. It was like, here's your desk, here's your phone, good luck. I hope that works out for you. Which is terrifying when you're, 20 years old. Like, oh, I'm gonna do this really big job, but nobody's gonna actually tell me how to do it, right? So I immediately seen that there was like this gap in our industry and in our business. And it took quite some time before I was ever even introduced to any sort of coaching or training. And it just happened to be like one of those drip campaign emails, like jump on this webinar. And I was like, wow, I learned so much in just like an hour online from some guy like talking about how to run an open house. And I was like, well, if I take this and I teach my agents, then, this is going to be awesome, right? So I was a realtor in the business from like 03 to 09. So 6 years as a realtor, just working for all these different firms. No training ever at any firm at all. It was always, here's your desk, here's your phone, good luck. I hope that works out. And then when I became one in 09, it was probably about 2011 when I seen that webinar with actual like, we'll teach you how to do something and do it well. And when I showed my agents, they were able to do good at it, right? And so I just kept trying to learn things and then putting it into like a binder that I would teach new agents that I got. So it was like super slow, super gritty, it's kind of like driving a stick shift car. It was like, okay, we learned this, and then you get into another gear, and like, okay, we learned this, and then you get into another gear. So it was tough, but over time, it was like every time I'd have a class of new agents that would come in, I would teach them, and then I'd refine it and teach them and refine it and teach them and refine it and teach them and refine it. And eventually it got to where like that became something that my office was known for, was training and teaching new agents how to do it. And I actually one time had another broker come to me and he's like, hey, I heard about your training. Like, where do I get it? And I'm like, well, I'm the training. Like, that's me. I do it. And he's like, oh, you got to figure out a way to like, I don't know, put it online or something, right? Like we're fast forwarding many, many years. And I actually, at that point in time, had went back to U of M to finish my degree. So like nobody saw I would go back. And I was sitting in a team training one day and I'm giving my story, nowadays we all tell our stories. We all have this story. We tell it. I dropped out of college, but I jumped into real estate and kept grinding it out. And now I've built this company and all of you are here and it's all good and it's all fine. And my managing partner afterwards was like, why don't you just go back? And I'm like, you don't do that. Like, you can't just go back to college. Like, that's not how that works. Like, it's like 18 years later. Like, it is like, why don't you try? So I literally got in my car, drove back to U of M, and they're like, yeah, come on back, finish it up, no problem. So I'm there and I take this entrepreneurial class, and the assignment for that semester was to build a company. And so I'm with this group, and I want to build something that doesn't have to do with real estate. I don't care if like we're building lights for the ceiling or whatever. I just want to like do something new, right? And so we go through all these things with our professor, and he's like, what else do you got? He didn't like any of our ideas. We had like 17 ideas. He never liked any of them. And I was like, well, and they're like, tell him about the training. And I'm like, I do this training at my office. It's like real estate training. And he's like, that's it. Make it into a company. And so that's how I started Stars Academy. Was I took all of the stuff I had gathered over all of these years, and I actually like recorded it into all these videos. I'm very blessed. My husband is great with cameras and production. So it worked out perfect that he could record all of these things. And it was like, that was what we sold is, 80% of agents, they quit in the first 5 years of being realtors. So you go through this class, but the class only teaches you how to pass the test and nobody teaches you how to do the job. So we teach you how to do the job, literally from like getting professional headshots, setting up your email, like all of those things into like how to actually prospect. Because that's the other thing. Like now there is realtor coaching, but it's usually just like either like how to sell, right? It's just a lot of like sales stuff, but nobody teaches you about like the follow-up process and like building different pillars of business or how to build out a social media empire. So we really built this like all-encompassing training. And I did it for the class, but what ended up happening was I was able to use it for my company too. So whereas I used to have to sit and train my agents on my new agents, and I get a lot of new agents because now that's what we're known for, I'd spend an entire week every single month training new agents. Well, now I could be like, hey, go plug into this, watch it, come in, we'll do a one-on-one, anything you need to deep dive further on, then we could do. So not only did it like build this second business that then I can sell out into the world and make the industry a better place, which makes the world a better place, right? I could also utilize it to free up time at my real estate office. So it's like over my career, all these things have just like grown into the next thing, grown in almost like accidentally, but it all worked out so perfectly. And then we started our podcast, Elite Life Podcast, to tell the world about Stars training and that Realtor Academy to get it out to everybody. So that's a little long-winded, but
No, that's great. Has the second business become bigger than the first business now?
Um, no, not so much because Elite Realty has been around for so long. So I started Elite Realty with my partner Andy in 2013. So we have been doing Elite Realty. This is our 13th year. And over that time, I actually just ran numbers on Friday and I was like, we're over $500 million in sales, which to us is so crazy because when we got in real estate, I actually was looking back today, like our average home sale in Michigan was like $20,000. So
Wow.
talking to Andy and I'm like, think of us when we started Elite Realty selling $20,000 houses in Michigan going, someday we'll sell $500 million in real estate. Like it's not even like it just the number just would not even compute to us then. So
Right.
being able to see that growth and having a team of over 80 agents, like although in our area there are definitely like way bigger teams out there, for us it's been so substantial because like I said, we've just been so gritty about like we're going to keep going no matter what's happening in the marketplace. We're going to make the best agents, we're going to have the best community and culture, and we just have done it different than other offices. Like one thing I noticed about real estate when I became a broker, because there's nothing that teaches you how to be a broker either. So at first I thought, well, all the brokers I worked for, you just get all these licenses. And like, if some of them work out, that's great, right? It's like this like numbers thing. But that's not great because then you get really crappy agents and nobody wants to come in the office because you have all these different like personality
Hmm.
attitudes and stuff. And so not only did we revamp with like training our team, but we also became very specific about like who we wanted at our firm and how we wanted to train them. So when you come to work at Elite Realty, no matter if you've been in the business for 30 years, 40 years, 5 seconds, everybody does Stars Realtor Academy. Everybody trains with me directly. And that's another thing, like I noticed at a lot of brokerages, the brokers aren't hands on. So none of my brokers before I became a broker was like hands on, like teaching me or mentoring me or anything like that. So that's like a very big deal to us that me and Andy, my managing partner, like we are here with them. We're role playing with them to make sure when they're on the phones, they know what they're doing. We're taking them out to a house and being like, show me this house. Now I'll show you how I show a house, so that we make sure when somebody comes to Elite Realty, like they get an experience and everybody feels like, even if you're with a top producer who has 30 clients, you feel like you're their only client. You get that experience. You have a buyer's consultation. Like that's another thing a lot of firms don't do, is we sit down with every buyer and you have a full buyer education session. Even if you bought a house 5 times, I sit down with them and I'm like, this, like, tell me about what you want and what you're looking for. And then we're going to step through like the market as a whole, what's going on in the city of Livonia, what's going on in the neighborhood you're looking in, how to build a highest and best offer, so that when we go out and we look at a house, my clients are already thinking like, I'm going to do an escalation clause, I'm going to do an appraisal gap coverage. Like they already know all this stuff. They've already been educated in how to buy a house, or if they're on the listing side, in how to sell a house. So they don't have that anxiety of like, what's going to happen or how is this going to go? Because I go through like, this is what could happen, probably won't, but if it does, this is how we're going to get around it. So we sit with our clients too and spend like a good hour and a half with them up front to show them exactly everything that's going to happen. When you're looking at a house, I want you to be thinking in your mind, on a scale of 1 to 5. And so they're so confident and they're armed with so much education that it makes my agent's jobs easy and my job easy, because we have smart, educated clients with smart, educated agents, and they're just doing great out there and just impacting the whole industry and community as a whole, because everybody's having good experiences. The agents, I had 2 agents last week. I love to screenshot them. So like when I'm having a bad day, because not all days are sunshine and rainbows in real estate, but I had to screenshot both of them because like one of the agents, his agent ID started with a 0. So he's been doing real estate since the beginning of real estate. And I am so happy that I have you on the other side of this deal. And I was just like, that is just so awesome. And then I had another agent that was just like, I'm so glad that I'm doing this deal with you, And so it's just a testament to like, when you educate yourself and you stay in the trenches as a broker too, because I still take clients. And that's another thing. Like, I'm not just up here like coaching and training from stuff that I knew from, 10 years ago that's not relevant today. I still make sure I take clients so that what I'm teaching them is still relevant. It is still what's going on, because the market's changing every day and it's different in every city and every county. You gotta be the truth when you're training.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is what's been the hardest part about being a business owner and operator, gradually or not so gradually getting out of the day to day while still growing and protecting the agency and the businesses that you've built?
Yeah, a lot of learning to delegate and let go, which I am a very type A personality. Like everything has checklists and stuff, but I've been able over time, because we're large but we're small enough to pivot quickly. I made sure that we have systems and processes that work, whether you're day one in the business or you're me who's been doing it for this long and you have a lot of stuff on your plate. Because we have these systems and processes, things don't feel so heavy. Like I am extremely scheduled. Like every minute of every day is scheduled. And my Google Calendar, people joke, they're like, your Google Calendar looks like Rainbow Bray threw up on it. Everything is on there from morning till night. But because I'm so scheduled and like our CRM is integrated into my Google Calendar and you're setting appointments, they're automatically texting the clients. And so everything is automated, everything has a process, and everybody knows who's doing what. So I have delegated out stuff that like I don't need to necessarily post on the Elite Realty social media platforms. I can delegate that out to our social media manager who is in office. So she knows our culture. She knows how we do things, but she can take that over. Right. And so it's like delegating out things that I don't need to have my hands in, trusting those people to fully take it over. I don't micromanage anybody. I'm like, this your job, make it great. And because we've built that culture in that community and people feel like they're a part of something, like we have another arm that is all community give back, Elite Cares, that we built out, and having that as a part of our business that we make sure it's part of our mission and our vision and our values to give back to the community. It makes people excited to be a part of it. And I think it makes them even like go that extra step further to do a really good job so that I don't feel like I have to go, well, Kim, did we do all of our things today? I just know like all that stuff is going to get done and it's going to be done right. And we have binders for everything. So when you come in, before you come into Elite Realty, you already know like what your first 21 days of work looks like. There's a binder for your first 7 days, and then there's a binder for your next 21 days. And it literally says, like, here's my binder. It's like, this is what I do when I sit at my desk. This is what I do next. There's a script for this. There's a script for this. There's a checklist for this. So everything is plug and play, and everything has a system and a process. And if something is getting to where it's really time heavy, I have people that I can say, hey, and I tell everybody in their buyer's education session, I'm like, I may not always be the person that opens the door for you, but I will always be the person that's negotiating and building out your offer for you. So if one of my partners opens the door, that's okay because I'm going to be on the phone with you immediately after and with my partner immediately after, and we'll be structuring the offer that you're going to write based on what we said. So I know these things I really need to be holding on to and these things that I can delegate off. And because we have so many agents, I also am able to say, this client will get along really well with this personality. So I'm gonna let Andy take them, or I'm gonna let Amanda take them. And that's super helpful too, because it feeds my people too. So if I get a newer agent that's really hungry and they're starting to ramp up and they really need some money, I can say, okay, you go show houses for me and I'll cut you in on this. Or you go take over these inspections and I'll cut you in on that. So everybody's eating. There's nobody that's struggling in the system, and everybody has a place. And when we see somebody get really, really good at a piece, we'll give them a little more of that pie, right? And so just making sure as a community, we're all always collaborating together and making that work. And that's been helpful to where I can still be in the business, but I'm working on the business, not always in the business, because you can only hustle hard so far before you got to strategically build out those SOPs and start letting pieces go that you don't have to hold on to.
Well, and to that point, you're also building something lasting for yourself. So let's talk about it from an ownership standpoint. When did you realize you were building more than just a business, that this could become real, lasting wealth for you and your family?
That is such a great question. I would say when we moved into this location, this Livonia location, I'd always like leased space in like little offices where it's like you're in like a community office, and all I wanted was my landlord to repaint the walls and give me some clean carpet at this place that I was at. And he would not do it. And I'm like, I just need you to repaint the wall. And he refused to do it. So me and Andy, we started looking at space. We found out real fast that commercial real estate is very different than residential real estate because we're doing it for ourselves. And we were actually like engaging in this lease on this space. And I got the lease agreement. It was nothing of what I had talked about with the person there. And this guy called me and he's like, hey, you want to go see this space at Senate? And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. It was like 6 months later after we had inquired on this space. Like, I was like, whatever, I don't like this piece, so I'll go check out this space. And it ended up being this place. And I'm like, well, I know we're gonna grow. Like I had this feeling inside. I'm like, we are gonna grow because I have this like training that I put together. My agents are getting better. People are actually like coming to us to ask me. Like I get people that come in and they're like, you're doing really good and you're growing. And I always hear that as a broker, that's the fastest way to be broke. But you're not broke and you're growing. So how are you doing it? So when people started coming and asking me questions, I was like, I think I might like be actually getting pretty good at this, right? Because people want to know what I'm doing. So we got in here and we were just looking at the pictures when we hit that benchmark. Andy sent me the pictures, and it was a tailor in a vape shop, and the owner of the lot moved them to the side, and we got to build out our whole own office. And I was like, we've become grown-ups. Like we're actually building our own office. We're picking the paint. We're putting it together. We got it all in. Like it took almost a year to fully get from like talking about what we're going to do to putting our furniture together. And I came out and I remember it was such a big deal of us like buying a sign with our name on it because a sign was really expensive. And I was like, that's really expensive for this sign. And we like spent the money for the big sign. And it was like, it's going to be okay because we're on a main road and we got this big sign. And I came out and we got in the office on the 3rd of July. And so it was the 4th of July. So the whole parking lot's empty. The big draw to this was our parking lot sees 1,000 cars a day. So now our whole parking lot's empty except my car and Andy's car. We turn on and we like looked at the sign. And it was just like, that was our like moment. Like, okay, we're not like this little bitty mom and pop store anymore. We got a sign you can see from the stoplight over there. Like, let's do this. And then I seen there was a space, this little space that was next to it. And I was like, we're going to build out that space too. And it was like, I hadn't even like let the paint dry yet. And I'm already like, and then we're going to do this. And then we're going to do this. And we continued to grow and grow and grow and grow. And now we have a second location in Waterford. And now it's to where instead of us always like trying to find clients and trying to find agents, like people have started to us, and people will tag us on Facebook and know who we are and talk about how we give back to the community. And that was really like the pivotal change around, right? From like, we're going to have to grind this out and we hope it works, to like, we know we'll get through whatever's thrown at us. We always do. It always finds a way. Like, it's going to be all right.
That's a great story. And the growth won't stop, right? What's one belief about wealth or success that's completely changed for you over the years?
That there's a limit or a cap to what anybody can do. Like, growing up, I grew up, me and Andy both, we came from nothing. Like, Andy lived in Detroit. He slept on a porch for a while as a kid. I grew up in a trailer. We were the family the church brought a box of food to. So we both had absolutely nothing, and everything stacked against us to just, not be successful. And even coming up in this industry, there's so many side stories I could tell you about, like, I got into this job as a loan processor so I could always have a paycheck. And then that guy messed up and that place got closed down. And then I got this corporate job at HSBC Bank and I'm like, oh, I'm good. And then the subprime implosion happened and that got shut down. And it's like all of these things kept coming against us and coming against us. And it would feel like there's no way we'll ever get anywhere. Like, we're never going to get anywhere because every time we get to here, like, it gets shut down, and we get to here and it gets shut down. And then we started to, like, when social media came big, we started to listen to people like Grant Cardone, or I found like Sarah Blakely, the woman who did Spanx, and like just listening to all these people who came from nothing like we did. And like, they made these like million and billion dollar empires, and they've just like changed the world of so many people. And we started to say, well, like, if they can do, like, why can't we? Like, we have the same stories. Like, why can't we? And we started to like take any extra money we had and go to those events. Like, we went to GrowthCon, which is Grant Cardone's thing. And that's where I actually seen Jesse Isler, Sarah Blakely's husband, and just all of these like super, super amazing speakers. And it blew our mind. And we started realizing, like, if we start saying these things, like, Andy wanted to become a vegetarian. So he walked around for like 6 months just going, I eat plants, I eat plants, I eat plants. And now it's like 8 years later and all he eats is plants, And I really wanted to run a marathon. And I was like, I'm an athlete, I'm a runner, I'm an athlete, I'm the most uncoordinated, like, never worked out in my life person. And now I ran 5 marathons and an ultra marathon. And we realized, like, if we start writing it down and we start saying it to people and we just start doing the habits, like the little habits, like first I had to walk and then I had to jog and then I had to run 3 miles, then I had to run, and it was like 1 year I ran like 52, I did 52 competitions in 1 year in 52 weeks. And it was like, everything that you do makes you realize, like, you can do anything. So like, you'll never hear me say like, I can't do that. And that used to be like my tagline. I'm like, oh, I could never run a marathon. I could never run a business. I could never make $500 million. That's still wild to me. But it's like all these things we would say we could never do. And now my dad asked me the other day, would you ever something? And I forget what it was. And I'm like, listen, I jumped out of a plane. I'm like, there's so many things I've done. There's nothing that I will say I couldn't do, or I wouldn't, like, if I realized like if you really want to do something, you can do absolutely anything. You just got to reverse engineer it and start saying like, I'm a person that does these things. And I believe that for anybody, because now with like our realtor training program, I brought people in, I had a girl, she was a waitress at the airport and she had 5 kids. And she's like, I need this to work out. And within a year, she was a 6-figure earner. We plugged her into our system. And I have so many stories. Like my cousin Kylie, she was our top producer last year. I remember the day she was like, I don't want to be a realtor. She literally told me, I don't want to be a realtor. And now she's a top producer, So it's like, I know that if you have a system and you have a good enough why and you're willing to do the work, there is anything on the planet you can do. Anything.
You bet.
Anything.
You bet. That's amazing. Congratulations on that success too.
Thank you.
That's amazing. What's one thing you've put in place to protect what you've built? I mean, whether personally or inside the business, what have you done to protect that?
That's a great question. So, number one, boundaries. I had to learn, and it was probably one of the hardest lessons I learned was firing fast, was letting go of toxic people. Because I am a people pleaser, I never wanted to fire anybody. I'm like, well, if we just, and it doesn't matter if we just, like, they have to just, and if they are toxic, they have to go, right? As far as from like legal standpoints and things like that, of course, like having all of our businesses in trusts and things of that nature, and making sure you have a good team around you, attorneys, insurance people, all of those key players are really important. A good CPA and like staying in your lane. Like that's another thing. At first I wanted to do everything, right? Like, well, it'll be cheaper if I just do this. Like, no, they're experts at this for a reason. Like you let your CPA do what a CPA does. You let your attorneys take care of attorney work. Like you got to let those key players do what they do because they get paid the big bucks because they're the best at it. And I don't want those jobs. So that has immensely protected me because I'm not going to chat GPT like, is this okay or that okay? I'm automatically going to say, call the Mar Legal hotline and ask Bernie, we're on a first name basis, if this is okay. Okay. So we protect ourselves by, number one, never going in the gray area. Like always, like we're checking with Bernie at Mar Legal hotline. That is it. Having those key people in place and having very strong boundaries and being able to say no, like that just does not serve us, or that is not in line with our vision and our values or our mission or our moral compass. And I'm a big gatekeeper too. I don't let a lot of vendors in my office. Like there's a lot of real estate offices where you'll have like 6, 7 of this and 6, 7 of that and 10 of this, and they're always coming in and out and in and out. We don't do that. We don't do that because I want to make sure if I say, hey, talk to my finance partner, it's somebody I've done business with, I know, like, and trust for many years. So if I'm going to co-sign for somebody, I need to know like that person has done my own mortgage. Like the guy that does our mortgages often, whenever, because we always refer a couple of people, but he does my personal ones too. So it's like, I'm not going to start saying like, jump in with this person or this person if I haven't jumped in with that person.
Right.
That person.
Right.
And I think that's really important because some people, it's just that revolving door offices that I've worked at, and that just doesn't equal out to good experiences for anybody.
Some owners view their company as their retirement plan, and then other owners try to build wealth separately or outside of their company. How do you think about that for yourself?
That's a great question. I had to start thinking about that question when I was interviewing financial advisors, because when you start off really poor, number one, you don't even know what a financial advisor is, and you never think about retirement. And everybody kept asking me, well, when do you want to retire? And I'm like, no, I'm just doing this so that like when I die, my kid gets a whole bunch of money. Like that's all I want, is him to not have to worry about anything. And the more people I talk to, the more they're like, no, like you can't think like that. Like it's good to leave your family a legacy and things when you're gone, but like you have to think about someday retiring, right? And what is that going to look like? And I think in real estate, that's really hard too, because I could do this job forever and ever and ever. But as I continue on, there might be a time when I don't want to do it forever and ever and ever. So you do have to start diversifying with that. So I interviewed a lot of financial advisors, and I had a guy for a long time and I really liked him. And then he became a partner in his company, and I got an email like, "Oh, now this girl's going to take care of you." And I was like, that's not good business. That's not good business. Like, I spent months interviewing so many people to find you that I like, to trust you with all of my stuff, right? And so my brother-in-law actually is a financial advisor, and every time I would sit and talk to him, he's just so smart. Like, he knows all the things. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give Nathan a call. So I entrust my retirement, all of my things now to Nathan. He is absolutely amazing. And he set it up. He set it up right. So if I do choose to retire ever, I will have a nice strategy set up. And I suggest that to everybody, even if you are like I was and kind of still am, where you're like, I don't know if I'll ever retire, because I like to be busy too. But he's like, maybe you want to be busy doing something else, like traveling, or you'll decide you like golfing. I don't know. It's hard when you are wired like I am, where you like, I don't even like to like just sit. I have a hard time just sitting. And so
Well, the title of the podcast is called Uncommon Wealth,
mhm,
and I had a guest on not too long ago, and he's like, wealth is not just money.
yeah.
It's also measured in time and flexibility,
Mhm.
right? And as business owners, we initially went into our field or our craft or our specialty for the money, but money gives us time and flexibility, so we can really measure our success or our wealth by how much time and flexibility we have to be able to do things.
Yeah.
But here's another question. Like, if someone was going to step in tomorrow and offer you and Andy a huge 8-figure buyout tomorrow,
Yeah.
what would already need to be in place at your firm for you to feel ready to walk away?
Probably more of a scaffolded leadership team that wasn't us two. Because when I bring people into Elite Realty, they buy me and they buy Andy and and I know a lot of people, they're like, don't run your team like a family, but they do. They buy the Elite Realty family because I know what their kids' names are. We all get together for a Christmas party. And even the more we've grown, people still feel like that, right? And so I would need to know that there were still other people that could lead like we lead and in the way that we lead, or the people that were taking over were of the same mindset to care about the people that were in the business. Because when you build a business like this and it's your baby, it's different. And I learned that in my entrepreneurship classes at U of M too, because a lot of my professors, they're buying and selling and buying and selling. And that's why I learned about venture capital and, selling your company. And I get those emails all the time. I'll buy your company. And it would be hard for me because I would need to know that there were going to be people there that cared about it and would continue on the things that we put in place, like Elite Cares. The community knows that when Thanksgiving comes around, we're going to give out baskets of food for the people in the neighborhood. Or if they can't take care of their kids at Christmas, they can email us and we'll make sure they have Christmas presents. And that's really important to me, that the company that I built would continue on that impact and those legacies for others.
So, so it sounds like, at least for the time being, a huge buyout or a sellout is not in the immediate future for you. But how do you create then that flexibility, that liquidity, that time that we talked about, so you can choose that next chapter in your life without being locked into the business?
Yeah, I feel like I have that freedom. We had this conversation. I have a women's entrepreneur group, and that's what we zoomed about last Wednesday was, what do you think rich is? And I said, it's freedom. It's freedom that if today I want to walk out of my office and I want to go to the airport and I want to jump on a plane and go somewhere, I can. And I have that now because the people that I do have in those leadership roles, like our office manager and things of that nature, they will handle everything, and it can all be handled without me. It can be handled. It can be worked without me. Um, I don't know where I was going with that now.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so
So
I
the
guess that's what I was saying. Like, I kind of feel like I do have that flexibility, but to step away
yeah,
forever, I guess I would just be looking for somebody that would come with
or
this
the next chapter.
leadership, right?
Yeah, or the next chapter.
Yeah.
So the wealthy, or as you said, the rich, they've been using permanent life insurance as a financial tool for decades. What have you done using permanent life insurance to create a legacy, reduce income taxes, or create tax-free benefits in the business or personally?
So permanent life insurance would be like,
Permanent life insurance would be whole life insurance, variable life insurance, indexed universal life insurance, private placement life insurance. It's a provision or a code. It's a section in the Internal Revenue Code, section 7702. And it creates a tax haven for business owners, whether on how to put money in to reduce your taxes inside of a qualified plan through cash balance plans, pension plans, typically reserved for high income earners
mhm.
like you are, or for estate liquidity so that in the event of your death, your kids don't have to sell your share of the business or sell your assets to pay estate taxes to the state that you live in or the federal government. Or it can just be used as a buy-sell agreement amongst partners, right? So if Andy died, how do you buy out his heirs, right, on his share of the business? Things like that. And if you haven't done anything, that's cool too. I was just asking the question.
Well, and that would be a good question, I guess, for Nathan, because I don't know. I just let them kind of lead the way and say, this would be good for you, this wouldn't be good for you. So I know I have 3 different life insurance policies. I know one is old school universal, where like you're putting in
Okay.
and you can take out. I know the one that I just got placed on. Um, that he just got me as like a $2 million policy for if something happens to me, then, and that's term
Mm.
because it's only for so long.
And
And
some of it can be owned in the business and some it can be owned personally. Like there's different reasons for each one, most likely.
yeah, I guess I just have a lot of trust in the people that set me up with stuff. And so I'm just like, hey, I don't understand all of these things. So you handle it.
Which
Like,
goes to your previous point, right? Let the people do what they specialize in. So
yeah.
looking ahead, how are you thinking about the next 10 to 20 years? Not just in the business, but personally and financially.
Just continuing to grow, definitely, and continuing to diversify. Like I said before, I love real estate and I like what I do, but I think there's something to be said with always pivoting and learning more. Like, I really love to learn, and that's something I learned from going back to U of M, is learning how we can continue to grow, how we can continue to like empower our agents to get bigger, stronger, faster, how eventually I do turn my company into something where it has a board that runs the company, still with my morals and values and the culture that I built, but I don't necessarily always have to be here. Maybe I'm building something different that is more impactful to the community or to the world. I look at people, like I said, I always go back to Sarah Blakely because it's like, she's done so many amazing things. Like, she's built schools overseas for women, and like, I want to be able to impact the world on this like huge level. And I know there's only so far I can get in this chair, right? Which means I have to put other people in this chair that will run things the way that I run it and be able to go on to what's bigger, what's next, how can I have a greater impact, and what does that look like? And it's sometimes just small moves, like now I'm on the board of another foundation called Geo Cares, which is a nonprofit, and like seeing how they do things and learn things. So it's saying yes to the right things and saying no to the things that aren't going to get us to that next level and get me to that next level, so I can continue to grow the people here, but also grow my impact, because I do want to leave a legacy. Like, when I'm gone, and people are at my funeral chatting, like, I want them to say, like, it's amazing how many lives that she was able to touch and make better because all of those little things that happen along the way while I was growing up, I worked for this guy one time and all of our paychecks went in cash. So only so many of our paychecks went cash. So you'd handwrite out all these checks. We would run across the street from our real estate company. And the first few people in line, their paychecks went cash and the rest of them weren't. And I was like 8 months pregnant, and this bank would see us go over there, and only so many checks cash, only so many checks cash. And they were doing a grocery cart giveaway. And they actually made it so that I got the grocery cart giveaway because they knew like how much we struggled to even pay our bills or get our payroll checks to cash. So like all those little things have just become like such monumental things in my life. And whether it's a cart of groceries or it's, giving Thanksgiving to a whole city or building a school overseas for, giving more accessibility to education or water or whatever it is, like I want to be a part of all of that. And so that is what I see myself as just continuing to be able to meet the people that I need to be and be in the spaces that I need to be to have those conversations to grow my impact in the world and leave a bigger, brighter legacy and make that as big as possible. Like in real estate, there's a lot of greed, and I want to change that narrative to there's a lot of give. And I think
Oh, that's
that's really
awesome.
awesome.
That's really good. One of my favorite questions to ask as we're wrapping up is what's something now about your business or about your wealth that you wish you had understood a decade ago?
Oh. Hmm. One thing I wish I knew about our business that I wish I knew a decade ago, I probably would have stopped trying to do it all a lot sooner and started building those systems a lot sooner
Mm,
because I always felt like if I wanted it done right, I'd have to do it myself. And when I started just letting go of so many things, everything ran so much smoother and understanding that when things do go bad, that's not always because we're doing something wrong. Like our
right.
industry has a huge churn, and I kind of liken it to when I was in college. I was a waitress, and there's always different servers. Like you're in and out of this restaurant, that restaurant, this. That's it's the same in real estate. So you can do everything right as a real estate broker and as the company, and agents are going to go, well, maybe it'll be easier here. Maybe it'll be easier here. Maybe it'll be easier here. And it's not because we're broken or our systems are broken or our office is broken. It's that those people don't want to do the work to make that system work.
Yeah, the
And
expectations are broken.
yes, exactly. They
Hmm.
think it's going to be easy because their cousin's brother, sister said, oh, go get a real estate license. I see it on TV, HGTV, selling Sunset.
Yeah, $1 million listings.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And people ask me
Hmm.
all the time, they're like, do you watch those shows? I'm like, absolutely not, because they're not real at all. Like,
Yeah.
this is hard work. And I changed. I guess that's another thing I would have changed a lot sooner. When I used to interview people, I used to be interviewing them to try to get them to come here. So I'd be like, oh, yeah, like I'd almost make the job sound too easy. And I kind of like flipped that completely. Like, this is going to be hard. But if you're willing to do the hard work and you're willing to do the follow up and the prospecting, like the sky's the limit. You can change your life, your kids' lives, your future generations' lives. You can impact the whole world. Like, we have the same license as the guys on the billboard, the guys on Selling Sunset, all of that. And you are the gas and you are the brake. So, does it have to do with our company? Absolutely, because if we don't have a great culture, nobody wants to be here. But sometimes people leave because they need to leave because they won't do the work that it takes to be successful. And so I took a lot of things to heart and probably made some changes that I didn't need to make along the way because of problems that weren't actually my problems. They were their problems. And you got to let people be people and go be people somewhere else. And that's okay. Not everybody has to stay here. Sometimes people need to grow and they need to move to an office closer to themselves, or they need to get out of real estate altogether. And that's all okay. It's all okay.
Well, thank you, Trish. This was truly insightful conversation. Your experience, especially blending the performance coaching with your long-term planning in the real estate brokerage firm, really stood out.
Thank you.
Your leadership in shaping not just a brokerage firm, but an entire training ecosystem it's really impressive. So thank you for sharing your journey and your wisdom today. Appreciate that.
I appreciate you giving me the chance to chat and learn a little more from you too. Now I have some questions to go back and ask.
Yeah, and we can circle back soon and explore how to continue to preserve and scale what you've built, and have a follow-up conversation there if need be. And your podcast, again, for the listeners, is
The Elite Life Podcast, and we are on all of the
Elite.
platforms. You can go on our YouTube, the Elite Life Podcast. We're on Apple, Google, all of the different platforms.
Awesome. Thank you, Trish. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. Thanks for having me on. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you.